Here's one of my favorite quotes. It comes from former college football coach Lou Holtz. He said, "Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it." And those are wise words for life. Some things happen to us that are out of our control, but those things do not have to define who we are. And that's not to say that we should dismiss hardships of life or the situations we were born into, or the impact that a catastrophe can have at any moment in our life. But the deciding factor in who we are and ultimately who we become is how we react to those hurdles in life. The most talented do not always get ahead, but the most determined will find success. As it relates to riding a motorcycle, there's a lot of wisdom in this quote for us as riders as well. This week on MCrider, let's look into this way of thinking and see how it relates to us. If you listen, I think you'll be better prepared for the challenges of riding a motorcycle at the end of this video. Hey, my name's Kevin, and I release a weekly video here on MCrider focused on road skills or road strategy to help you become a better rider. Become a member of MCrider and get access to even more tools to help you stay sharp and develop your skills on two wheels. And if I were to change that quote from Lou Holtz so that it relates 100% to riding a motorcycle, I'd say riding a motorcycle safely is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you prepare and react to it. Now, I won't deny that there are circumstances that are out of our control on a motorcycle. At 10% of things that are totally out of our control, like a car pulling out in front of you, an animal running into the roadway, an unrealized mechanical issue that affects the motorcycle's rideability, or maybe there's debris mid-corner that's not easily visible as you enter into the corner. But from my experience in riding a motorcycle, the things that are in my control vastly outnumber the things that are out of my control. If riding a motorcycle were purely a crapshoot, as some riders claim, with cars constantly trying to kill us and every ride was a near-death experience, I wouldn't ride. The risk at some point would outweigh the joy of riding, and I'd give it up. But I think the people who often talk about the extreme risk of riding a motorcycle are leaving a lot of things on the table that could greatly reduce the risk they have when riding a motorcycle. So those unexpected things that can happen on the road make up that 10% of things that could happen to us. But even those 10% can be further reduced if we focused on the 90% that's in our control. These 90% relate to how we prepare, how we react to circumstances as riders. So what are some things that we can do to prepare for riding a motorcycle safely? Well, first off, initial training, getting that initial training. Wearing protective gear every time you ride. Ride a motorcycle that fits you and your skill as a rider. Keep your motorcycle well maintained. Man, a lot of riders fall into that trap. They either don't maintain it themselves or they don't take it somewhere to make sure it's maintained, and they're riding on sketchy motorcycles. View training as a continual process and not a one-time event. And that's a big one for me. I think a lot of riders pass the basic riding course and they think they have all the training that they'll ever need. When I played Little League Baseball, I made the All-Star team as a shortstop 2 years in a row. Did I get an immediate college scholarship or an invite to a Major League Baseball team? No way. But many riders pass the basic rider course and they think they know it all, when in reality, all they've been doing is playing Little League Baseball. Notice that we said in our quote that 90% of our ability to stay safe was how we prepared and react. Training's a big part of how we prepare, and it directly impacts how we react when a circumstance arises out on the street. If you took that basic riding course 5 years ago and you did 15 to 20 emergency brake runs to pass the course, and you're relying on what you did 5 years ago to help you out on the street when that car does pull in front of you and you actually need to use emergency braking, you may be in for a rude awakening when you need it out on the street, because most of the skills you gain in that initial class are gone unless you've taken follow-up training or you've practiced and continued to develop those skills on your own. As it relates to training on a motorcycle, my best advice is to take the initial training. 1 year after that date, take it again or an intermediate class, and then every 2 years at a minimum or so, take some other training class and continue learning. And just as importantly, continue to practice those skills on your own. I worked for several years in the airline industry, and I had a vacant mall that was right up the road from the airport where I worked. I rode there at least 3 days a week on my lunch break, and I practiced riding on an old abandoned MSF course. Mainly, I worked in the U-turn box and emergency braking and cornering technique. That regular practice helped me grow as a rider more than anything else I've done on a motorcycle. When I started to develop MCrider, that was what gave me the original idea for the field guide. I knew how much regular practice on my own had helped me, and I think it would have been even more beneficial if I had had something like the field guide to lead me in my practice sessions. In the field guide, there are exercises that will help you with your basic cornering, using your vision well, emergency braking, U-turns, slow speed control, trail braking, and I'm excited to announce a new exercise in the field guide for intermediate to advanced level riders that focuses on road speed cornering. This exercise is called the Road Speed 8, and it was written and developed by a fellow riding instructor and MCrider member, Coach Bob, who can be found on the forums at Enjoy the Ride MC. The Road Speed 8 exercise is an excellent resource if you want to really step up your cornering game. A lot of work was put into this by Coach Bob, and I'm really excited to have it as a part of the field guide. If you're already a member of MCrider, you'll find the new exercise in the field guide section of the forums under that intermediate/advanced section. Every exercise in the field guide has coaching tips, problem correction, diagrams of the exercise, and a video that demonstrates the technique that you're working on. Add to all the resources of the field guide with the forums where you can ask questions and get feedback, and you've got a great resource to continue your development as a rider. So this all brings us back to the quote, riding a motorcycle safely is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you prepare and react to it. I have to ask you that question, are you prepared to ride a motorcycle? If you're not prepared, those numbers start to get skewed and the risk of riding starts to outweigh the gains. And I think that's initially why a lot of riders stop riding, is they don't continue to develop and they start seeing some of the risks out there because they haven't developed. So be prepared as a rider. Put the time in. It'll reward you with thousands of safe riding miles, stories to tell from the road, and friends to share it with. Until next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider. I'll see you on the forums, and I hope to see you on the road.